So I've talked to a lot of students, not just the people who worked with me, but also the people who called in for a profile evaluation call. And I find that typically there's only about 5 or 6 different parts of the application process that they find difficult. Okay, and really these are really the only 6 things that people find difficult. If there's anything else, it's very, very rare. Right. The first thing is you don't really understand what the schools want when they ask you a particular question. Right. The most famous example is I believe it was Berkeley who had a question in somewhere in the last 2 years. The question goes somewhere along these lines: if you were a song, what song would you be? Right? I mean, what does that even mean? Right? Why would I be a song? Why would you be a song? And if we were to be a song, then what song would we be? Right? Uh, I had people write about all sorts of inspirational songs. There was this very popular song from this Hindi movie Lakshya, Hrithik Roshan, about 10, 15 years ago. So I think that was pretty popular. There was another song from this Farhan Akhtar movie, right, where he acts as the runner. I forget the name of the movie. Anyone help me out here? Farhan
भाग
Akhtar acts.
भाग
Which one?
भाग मिल्खा भाग.
Bhag Milka Bhag. Yeah. So that's a pretty popular song as well. These are if you choose Hindi songs, right? I mean, and then there are people who choose Tamil songs, Telugu songs, English songs. I mean, it doesn't matter. But that's one thing that really flummoxed people. The other question that people have a problem with is, schools typically ask you to talk about your achievements, and almost everyone I know, everyone I've talked to, believes that their achievements aren't strong enough to help them differentiate themselves, right? Uh, and I wouldn't blame anyone here. If I were to apply to business school, then I would feel the same way. A good example that I can give you is so there's this popular author called Neil Gaiman, right? I don't know if anyone's heard of him. He's a fantasy fiction writer. So he's popular for this book called Good Omens, for example, which has been remade as a series on Amazon Prime. If you get a chance, you should watch it. So Neil Gaiman's a beautiful writer, right? So he goes to this party where there's a lot of achievers, and so he happens to catch a conversation with another gentleman who's also attending, and incidentally that gentleman's name is also Neil. And so Neil Gaiman says, hey Neil, you know what, all of you guys, you've achieved a lot, and I feel like I've not achieved anything. I don't really belong here. This is coming from a guy who's won multiple awards for his fiction, right? And the other Neil says, you're right, Neil, to Neil Gaiman, even I don't feel like I belong here. Now, who is this Neil, the mystery gentleman in question? Does anyone have any answer for this? Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. The other Neil was Neil Armstrong, right? The first man on the moon. So you are the first man on the moon. Neil Armstrong was the first man on the moon, and he still believes that his achievements were not strong enough, right? So if that's what that great man thinks, then who are we here, right? There's another group convinced about your achievements, but you don't know how to explain yourself clearly, right? So that at least is much easier. A good number of our Indian students cannot write in a non-technical manner. That's a big problem that I've seen, especially people who are working in the software engineering field, right? So that's another group of people. And there's some people who don't understand the difference between realistic goals and far-fetched goals. Okay, and what do I mean by this? There's a lot of people who've reached out to me whose post-MBA goal is to become a manager in the EPL, the English Premier League. There's another set of people who want to become a sports team manager in, let's say, one of those American baseball leagues. Great. Uh, I take it that you're passionate about the sport, but if you've grown up in India and you have no exposure to that sport at that level of competence whatsoever, then maybe that's not a realistic goal for you, right? So, what's a realistic goal? I mean, realistic goals are typically boring. You want to become a product manager or you want to become a management consultant or something. There is this fear that people have that stating a realistic goal would not differentiate them from a lot of the competition. That's true. But at the same time, just saying you want to become a sports team manager when what you're doing is you're working for a steel making corporation, somehow that jump doesn't seem very realistic, right? So that's a problem that I've seen some people have. Then there's a good number of people who have difficulties managing the application timelines as well. So these are typically the different aspects of the MBA application that people find difficult rather.